Gurmagad Cancor, I appreciate my time is short, and I do appreciate my colleagues Deputy Gannon and Deputy Tully joining me in this debate. Minister, there's nothing really that brings shame to the Department of Education more than its treatment of SNAs, those who we send into the war against COVID, into classrooms across the country, without basic provision for their own safety, without any sense of a vaccination programme. But it's quite clear that when it comes to actually paying them, the department will do everything it can to resist that temptation. And what we're talking about here is proper accreditation for the certification which they receive. We are having difficulty getting that accreditation, and the suspicion is because the department does not want to sanction such accreditation, because it would mean that SNAs would have to be properly paid. So on that basis, Minister, I'd be interested to hear your response, and I also be interested to hear the contributions of my colleagues.
Deputy Gannon.
Minister, over the last number of months we have rightfully heard how truly essential our SNAs are, and it was never not the case. But it's never been, in terms of their remuneration, in terms of their conditions of employment, that's never actually been reflected. And right now, there's over 500 SNAs in UCD taking an extraordinarily difficult course, where some have worked over 60 hours since January in terms of trying to improve their skills, their knowledge, their awareness. And at the end of that, they won't be given an accreditation compared with any other courses that are going on in the country at the moment of similar difficulty. So that's simply unacceptable. Why doesn't this department, why doesn't this government put their money where their mouth is in relation to SNAs, ensure that they're accredited properly for the work that they're doing, and actually beyond that ensure that their pay and conditions are commensurate with how truly essential their contribution is to skills up and down this country?
SNAs for far too long have been treated as the poor relation within education. They deserve respect, and where they undertake training, this needs to be properly accredited and recognised. Minister Madigan, you encouraged SNAs to take part in the first national training programme for SNAs at UCD. However, no clarity has been provided on the accreditation of this course, and SNAs are going around in circles trying to get this clarity. While SNAs are spending a huge amount of time studying and putting the work in for this course, they deserve to know what qualification they will come out of it with. They deserve to know what impact it will have on their employment, their rights and their entitlements. At the minute, there's all sorts of dithering and delay and confusion on what the Department of Education are going to do in relation to this and how it will be recognised. It isn't good enough, and I think Ministers Foley and Madigan need to resolve this with Minister Harris and the institution involved. SNAs that are working hard, that are trying to upskill through courses like this, deserve to know what status it will have, and this needs to be clarified urgently.
Thanks, Deputy Tully. Now we welcome Minister Josepha Madigan to deal with this matter.
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle, and I'd like to thank the deputies for raising this matter today, and I wish to assure the House that the education of children with special education needs is a key priority for this government. And the government will invest in the region of €2 billion this year in supporting children with special needs, which is over 20% of the total education budget. And by the end of this year, there will be 18,000 special needs assistants employed in our schools. The SNAs, as you have all pointed out, play a huge role in supporting the inclusion of pupils with significant care needs in education and in school life. And this was acknowledged in the comprehensive review of the Special Needs Assistance Scheme, which was published by the NCSC in 2018. And in that review, there was a number of recommendations regarding SNAs and the need for a more broadly based set of supports, including therapeutic supports for pupils with complex needs. And the review also referenced the training needs of SNAs, and in this regard, the NCSC recommended that a new national training programme at level 5 of the National Qualification Framework was to be developed for existing SNAs who do not have the requisite level of training and for new SNAs on appointment. And the NCSC also recommended that training tailored to the specific complex needs of some students being cared for by SNAs should also be provided. And the policy advice has been considered by the Department in this context. The value of an accredited programme is recognised, and the Department is committed to the development of a strategic framework for SNAs that will identify need and provide quality training in a timely manner. And in order to begin providing foundation for this, it was decided that initial priority should be given to the development of a training programme for SNAs who may not have had a recent opportunity to access a training programme tailored for their role previously. So the initial aim of the new programme will be to provide training and not a professional qualification. So that might provide some clarity in relation to that specific question. And you have to remember, deputies, that this is the very first national training programme for SNAs employed in our schools, and it is tailored to their needs. However, I do want to assure you all that the programme will be evaluated and the outcome will inform the approach to the training of SNAs in the future. And the Department also recognises that a more strategic approach is required for the training of SNAs, and this would deal with a number of matters, including the identification of need and the provision of appropriate training programmes. And the issue of programme accreditation will be considered further in this context, and I look forward to its development. There was a public procurement competition which was held for the delivery of this new national training programme for SNAs, and a detailed specification of need and learning outcomes were developed and published for the competition. And following on from that evaluation of the tenders received, the contract was awarded then to UCD in conjunction with the UCD School of Nursing, Midwifery and Health Systems. 2.5 million has been allocated to this programme over the next 4 years on a full uptake of 3,500 SNAs. My understanding is that about 2,500 applied, and 500, the first cohort of the 500 SNAs enrolled in January, and this phase, as I said, was oversubscribed. The programme consists of 5 modules. It's delivered online over a 10-month period with a 2-month break during the summer period, and flexibility is a key part of the approach to the delivery of the programme. And it's important to stress as well that it is a voluntary programme and something that the SNAs themselves have been looking for a considerable period of time. But just to stress again that as it is a new programme, it will be evaluated, and that outcome will inform future policy, which includes accreditation.
Sure. Now we have a minute each for each deputy to respond. Deputy Ó Ríordáin.
Yeah, I'll be brief. Minister, you know, I know, and indeed the CAT knows that you wouldn't treat a teacher like this because you wouldn't get away with it. And it's quite clear that the department has a policy, a long-standing issue when it comes to dealing with SNAs, that they're not treated with the same level of respect. And we've had this right throughout this pandemic, from announcements being made without the sign-off of the SNA union to the redeployment absolute debacle last year. And now we have a situation where you're giving a speech to the House which is all very well-meaning, but will not do what we require it to do, which is to afford SNAs the credit and respect they deserve for the training that they do. So I would suggest to the Minister that she should work harder, I think, in terms of the accreditation that the SNAs are asking for, considering that the training they are due, in order that this is a career that SNAs themselves can be proud of, and not always to feel as if they're being undermined by the department.
Thank you, Deputy Ó Ríordáin. Deputy Gannon.
Yeah. Thanks, Carla. Minister, thanks for your contribution. I think your contribution was honest, but contained within that honesty is just how unhelpful it actually is. I mean, 500 SNAs undertaking a course which we're not going to accredit, and we're supposed to alleviate the concerns of those 500 by telling them that it will be assessed in the future, and then maybe there will other groups who will be accredited for the same work that they're doing. It seems quite insulting. It would be, if I was undertaking that course, I'd be quite demotivated now. We're told that the course has no cost to it. That's not true. I mean, the cost of those SNAs doing their day's work, coming home, providing and trying to provide childcare while they do a course online is a cost in itself. And for that, they won't receive any accreditation. And even worse, we're told that this may be of assistance in pursuing further education. Well, it also may not. Minister, we actually need a little bit of urgency around this. I fully appreciate what you've said here, but it's not good enough. All we're asking for is to understand at what level do you accredited for a quite a difficult and well worthwhile course. So let's just be better here.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Tully.
Yes, like the two previous speakers, I'm somewhat disappointed with the reply as well. I mean, SNAs are professionals and they want to do their job as well as possible. They are willing to undertake this training to improve that. Without SNAs, we know that many students will be excluded from education, so their work is imperative to ensure inclusion. And I would just ask you that you would go back and revisit this as well as an incentive for SNAs to improve the work that they do through this training programme. And as I said, many other professional bodies would not be asked to do work that they wouldn't receive some sort of accreditation for in their employment conditions and pay. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister Madigan, do you care to conclude the debate on this matter?
Yeah, thank you, Ceann Comhairle. And I don't think it's a fair assertion to say that the department, or indeed I, don't care or don't try and treat SNAs well. I mean, this is the very first opportunity for many SNAs to engage with the theory and research-based practice which underlies their role in circumstances where they haven't had the opportunity before. And I accept the fact that it is not yet accredited, and it's not to say that it never won't be accredited, but we have to start somewhere. And this is a very, very valuable training, and I think, you know, testament to that is the fact that there have been so many applicants for this course, and it's a very well considered course with excellent modules contained within it, and will provide a really, really good grounding and training, which, as I said earlier in my original contribution, is what the NCSE has recommended. So the aim at the first port of call is to provide a really good training as opposed to a professional qualification. And I think all deputies have to appreciate that you can't go from a zero base suddenly to accreditation without actually evaluating the outcomes of particular courses. So as I said again in my original contribution, the outcome of the course itself will be evaluated and will inform the approach that is taken into the future. Since 2011, we have 70% more SNAs now. We have nearly 18,000 than we had. We had 10,500, and I certainly, as the very first dedicated Minister for Special Education, have at all times tried to look after our SNAs. If you're talking about PPE or you're talking about their care, we have written to the Department of Health in terms of trying to see if we can get them up in the vaccination schedule. So we're doing everything we can to support them, and I do think that this is just a stepping stone for them, and it'll result in much better training again in the future. Thank you.